Over the last few months, I have got to know a great new project management YouTuber called Stuart Taylor, and his channel is called The Influential PMO. There, Stuart offers his thoughts about project management almost every day. His videos are short and to the point, and they mostly feel like you're sitting across a table chatting with a colleague who's giving you some really good advice. Stuart and I thought it would be really fun to share our recommendations for a few project management books that we think are really not as well known as they should be. Over to Stuart first.
Thank you, Mike. The first of the project management books I'd like to recommend is Business-Driven PMO Success Stories by Mark Price Perry. What's the matter? Didn't you think that PMOs had success stories? Well, we do. They're all in this book. This book is actually a sequel to Business-Driven PMO Setup, but I prefer this one, and I think you will too. You see, unlike most books that just operate in theory, more than half of this book is a series of case studies. PMO leaders describe the variety of difficulties they faced in delivering projects and portfolios, the steps they took to overcome their challenges, and the final outcomes. It includes stories from large organizations you'll be familiar with, as well as some smaller ones you won't. One of my favourite stories from within the book is about a PMO within a different type of PMO, a Prime Minister's office. It covers the challenges faced by Greece in meeting 4 firm deadlines: the adoption of the euro, modernisation of infrastructure, organisation of the Greek presidency of the Council of the European Union, and finally, the very small matter of hosting the Olympic Games. We all know that Greece has experienced great turmoil in the years following these events, but the advantages gained by the Greek public sector in introducing project, program, and portfolio management methodologies and tools are universal. Consistent data and language, improvements in top-down, bottom-up communications, increased transparency and efficiency, credible reports that leaders could trust and act on, effective monitoring and control of costs, and many more. And that's just one case study out of 27. It's a must-read if you're a PMO or running a PMO. If you're a project manager working with a PMO, this may give you an insight into what they're trying to achieve, or it may just provide you with the tools to promote enhancements to the PMO services within your organization to make them more business-driven and less preoccupied with following any single methodology.
My first book is called Skyscraper, The Making of a Building by Carl Saber. This book is taken from the TV series that almost certainly kindled my interest in project management, which is odd because it isn't actually about project management. It is about the whole life story of building a new skyscraper in Manhattan from the very first design ideas to completion of the building. But as part of the TV show and as part of the book, we do follow the story of the construction manager, and that has a lot of project management in it. This book won't teach you project management, but it will teach you a lot about project management. And it will also teach you about other aspects around a project, the politics, the finances, and the people and the conflicts that they come into. So this isn't really a project management book, but Saber writes compellingly about the human stories that surround a mega project.
My second book was, to be honest, a little disappointing when it came through the letterbox. In fact, it's so small it could have probably been posted through the gap under the front door. It's an odd reason to be disappointed though, isn't it? It's not like we buy books for the number of pages or words that got in them. We buy them for the value of the content. And this book has valuable content. Lean versus Agile versus Design Thinking by Jeff Gothelf gives a wonderful insight to the challenges of running digital product teams with similar but sometimes conflicting practices. As the title suggests, it looks at each of the methodologies that are applied with product teams and explores the challenges, contradictions, and complete chaos that can result from having everyone attempting to follow their training and do what Agile, Lean, and Design Thinking dictates as it applies to their different roles. It asks the question, how do teams reconcile the drive for velocity whilst ensuring meaningful contributions from non-tech disciplines? How do you help product managers to become more than just glorified project managers? What I found so refreshing about the book was it didn't try to hide the fact that there's no single best approach. It's not declaring that we should all do Agile or any other single methodology. The writer understands that everyone is trying to do the right things, but there is no one right way to work. This book recommends that you give yourself the freedom to use all of the methods available and then pick and choose the elements of each practice that work best on any occasion. If you're working in an environment using these methodologies, you may have noticed already that it just sometimes doesn't work as intended. And a lot of the time, that's just because people are just following the dogmatic view of their methodology without applying flexibility where needed. This book may give you the insights and maybe even just the permission that you need to adapt your approaches. It's a short book, but it gets to the point and is loaded with value, and it won't waste your time. I am conscious that the book leans perhaps a little bit more towards product management than project management, but I still think you'll get a lot of value out of it, so please give it a try.
My second book is called Filling Execution Gaps by Todd Williams, and this is a fantastic book for any project manager. But it is primarily targeted, I would say, at experienced project managers who want to lift their practice up a notch, particularly in the direction of strategic project management and being part of the organisational leadership. It has so much in it that I almost don't know where to begin. It's about the overlap between corporate strategy and project delivery. And in that overlap, Williams identifies 6 gaps. The first is linear thinking and a deep understanding of what the organisation needs to achieve. The second is aligning the projects to the organisation's goals. Third is engaging executive sponsors. Fourth is change management and the adoption of new systems and processes. Fifth is effective governance, and regular members of my community will know that for me, that's a very hot button. And sixth is real leadership of projects. And for each of these gaps, Todd Williams has a huge raft of ideas, insights, and solutions. This is a book you will go back to again and again. It is a book you will make notes in, and it is a book filled with great ideas that will lift your project management practice to the next level.
My third book is Learning Lessons from Projects by Ken Burrell. Okay, let's be honest with each other now. Just between us, we all know that we're supposed to capture lessons throughout the project, but that it gets deprioritized because project managers are very busy. And no project ever failed because it failed to capture lessons. But plenty of projects have failed because they didn't learn lessons from earlier projects. But we can't entirely blame the project manager in this situation, because we also know that PMOs are probably managing to store lessons, but they're rarely doing much with them afterwards, not making them accessible to project managers, not analysing them, identifying themes, and recommended changes as a result. And it's for the same reason. It gets deprioritised because we're so busy. So there you go. None of us are doing something that we all know is important. This book looks to correct that situation, and it doesn't do it by wagging a finger at you and telling you to just get on with capturing lessons. Sure, it's got a central message about the importance of continuous improvement, but it offers a practical approach rather than a lecture. It considers lessons learned from the project manager and the PMO perspective and creates a framework of experience, reflection, capture, storage, retrieval, and application. For each element of this framework, it provides a variety of tips and case studies that bring the topic to life, make it relevant, and much more engaging than you'd probably expect. No matter how much you think you know about lessons learned, this book proves there's still a lot to learn.
My third book is Alpha Project Managers by Andy Crow, and this is a tremendous book. And I confess, I have written a detailed and thorough review of this, I'll link to it below, because I wanted to document some of the really important lessons that I learned from this book. Alpha Project Managers details Crow's findings from detailed interviews with 860 project managers and their sponsors and people who work around them. But these 860 people didn't represent the first trawl. In fact, they were drawn from the very best of 3,000 people who responded to a survey. But when he interviewed those 860 people, He also interviewed their managers, their supervisors, and people who worked around them, meaning the data set for this is over 4,000 interviews. A phenomenal piece of work. But from those 860 best project managers, he identified 18 who really stood out from the crowd. This book documents the results of the follow-up surveys and discussions with these 18 project managers and the people around them. These are the alpha project managers of the title. The question this book answers is, what is it that these top 2% of the very best do differently to be alpha project managers, these 12 men and 6 women? If you aspire to be an alpha yourself, you need to read this book. I'll put a link to my review below. It's got some of the findings, but by no means all of them. This is a fantastic book for anyone who wants to be a career project manager delivering excellent projects.
Mike, I've really enjoyed sharing my views with your followers, and I hope I don't outstay my welcome. But before I go, I have picked another book. I'm not ready to do a review on it, as I haven't read it yet, but it's called How to Manage a Great Project. I've heard some really good things about the author, Mike Clayton. I look forward to reading and reviewing it.
So, what are your recommendations? If you have any recommendations for project management books that aren't as well known as they should be, please do add them to the comments below. I'd love to add them to my reading list. And have you read any of the books that Stuart or I recommended? If you have, tell us what you thought of them in the comments below. And if you haven't read them and you want to, I've put links to all of the books in the description below this video. So thank you very much, Stuart, for your recommendations. Stuart and I have made 2 videos like this that we're releasing on the same day on our respective channels. The second video is on Stuart's channel, The Influential PMO, so hop over there now to see it. In that video, we share our recommendations in the same way, but for non-project management books that we think project managers will get a lot from. And if you like these videos, please do subscribe to Stuart's channel and to my channel. Give our videos a thumbs up and comment if you can. That way YouTube gets to know what you like so it can serve you better content. And of course, it can also serve our content to people like you. That will help both of us to grow our channels and provide you with more and better content every week. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Stuart.